Hey guys, and welcome on board on our 737-300 made by IXEG by 4 XP11. We are flying my custom livery today. It's this one here. I wanted to make a livery which looks more like a business jet thing, not an airline livery, but yeah, that's the one. I don't know, just a fantasy livery, as I said, made a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's okay. Maybe I will modify it in the future, maybe I will leave it, maybe I will make another one, no idea. But that's not the point of the video. The reason why we are here today is that we are approaching Samos International Airport, which is this one. It's on a little island in Greece, close to the Turkish border. You can see it on the side here. And the interesting part is the visual approach to runway 09, which will I talk you through later on. At the moment we are in flight level 140 and on an intercept heading of 040. We would like to intercept the radial 359, which I have set already. Radial 359 is the lead-in radial towards the VOR station Sierra Alpha Mike, which has a known DME, as you see by this little D there. That's the Morse code identifier, which stands for Sierra, Alpha and Mike, and so on. Unfortunately, I don't have the whole charts package for this airport. I found this one here on the internet, just one picture, and actually that's all we need, because all of the information we need are on this chart. We are approaching already the radial 359, so I activate the VOR and localizer mode for the autopilot, which will then start to intercept the radial 359. And as we see on the mode annunciator panel, the radio has been already captured. So correct for the heading, we have a wind of 60 knots from 014 at flight level 140, as I said. And we should think already about the descent. Because one part of the approach is that we have to be 4 miles prior the VOR station, at an altitude of 1,850 feet. Normally you can't set on an airliner MCP 50 feet increment, so we have 100 feet increment here. So which means for our approach the altitude will be 1,900 feet. Because 1,800 feet would be already too low, and let's just quickly calculate the point of descent. For the simplicity, call this one 2,000 feet, so we are at 14 or flight level 140, which means we have to lose 12,000 feet. Time 3 is 36 plus the 4 miles which we have to be ahead of the station means 40 DME. So when we have 40 DME here, we should, it's the latest point, we should start a descent, which is still in a, well, I would say in a normal rate of descent. But I would like to prefer to descend at 42 miles, so we have a 2 miles buffer, because we have to reduce our airspeed as well. We are at the moment at 290 almost, and normally in quite every European airspace you have the restriction that you are allowed to fly maximum 250 knots below flight level 100. We are commencing our descent, and now we have almost 42 miles, as I said, and pre-select the altitude of 1,900 as already set for this point here. The next point will be, we will make a break off to the left on a radial, not on a radial, correction, on a track of 3 to 5. We have considered the wind. I will check on the meter later on, so we know the wind at the ground. We'll correct for the wind. During this break-off turn, we have to dial in the radial 240 of the VOR station, because this is an important point. This is well, that's the point when we have to start our turn towards the final track. There will be a shed with a white roof, as it states here. This one we have to pass not lower than 400 feet. And if everything's alright, we should be on track and on glide for or like on a visual path to the runway 09. Okay, reduce the speed to 50, as I already said, so thrust to idle, and I don't use for this approach the auto throttle. I have my reasons. So sometimes if you're like do for example that kind of approach, so you are in a descent and want to reduce the speed and just pre-select the flap speed of, I don't know, maybe 200 knots, but would like actually start to configure and already continue reduce down the speed, and when you're exactly at 200 knots or just a couple of knots before, then the auto thrust system kicks in again and starts to increase the thrust, which you don't like, because you actually have to descend furthermore and to reduce the speed furthermore, and so on and so on. So for this kind of approach, or I would like to prefer to do it without auto thrust system. Just for your info, I'm not a real world 737 pilot. I fly another airplane, but many modes or many systems like navigation modes, autopilot modes, and so on are relatively similar. So yeah, don't blame me on the speeds, flap setting speeds, and so on. I just yeah, eyeballing there. I know the maximum speed, for example, for the first notch of flaps is 230 knots indicated, so it should be no problem. And then we will configure until we reach our VREF of 135 knots today. So just double check or cross check our altitude to the distance. So at 8,000 feet we should have 22 miles, so we are still quite good. We have 2.5 miles a buffer. So I can retract the flight spoilers again and reduce the rate of descent a bit. Reduce the speed further to 200 knots. At 7,000 feet we should have 19 miles. Okay, we are still ahead with a little buffer, but I'm not able to reduce the speed, so just pull the speed brakes again a bit and that should be right. The wind at the moment is on the ground is 14 knots, so 020 at 14 knots, and the QNH is 1007. 1007, 1007 here, and 1007 there. Cross check 5,600, 5,600, perfect. Okay, we are reducing the speed almost at 230 at 5,000 feet. We should have a DME distance of 13 knots, so 13 miles, so we are absolutely fine. We can reduce the rate of descent a couple of 100 feet as well, and even more, so we can retract the flight spoilers and start to configure the flaps. We are at almost 220, so I will go with flaps 1 now. Do our descent checks, switch on the lights except the taxi light, which will be a reminder for us. This one goes to continue. Continuous ignition, come on, there we go. And altitude is set about 40 feet, that's fine. Flaps 2 now. Reduce the speed, 180. Speed brake set to, not the speed brake, the auto brake is set to 3, because it's quite a short runway of about 2,000 meters. Let's do the descent checklist. Pressurization is checked. Recall, we forgot this one, nothing there, perfect. Then auto brake is set, VRF 135, approach brake complete, altimeter is 1007 set as well. And landing checklist, we have the cabin as always done. Start switches to continuous, we've done this one. Speed brake is armed. Nope, now, there we go. Speed brake's armed. And landing gear and flaps to go. We prepare everything, or as much as possible, before the approach, so because the last part of the approach will be quite short, we have to prepare as much as possible. Always be ahead of the airplane. To reduce the speed furthermore, 160 knots. Flaps 5, flaps 10 now. Pre-select the heading of 3 to 5, actually not the heading, track is 3 to 5 we have to be, so corrected for the wind. We, as I said, wind is from a bit northeast. 3 to 8, 3 to 8, 3 to 9 actually. Yeah, 3 to 8. Gear down and reduce the speed. VRF is 135 today. Flaps 15. Okay, we are at 1,900 feet. The autopilot undershoots a bit, but recovers, okay. Flaps 25 now. We are approaching 5 miles. And we will approach 4 miles, so flaps 30 now. Okay, so continue landing checklist. Landing gear is down and flaps set green. Okay, 4 miles, heading select 3 to 8. We pre-select radial 240 because this will be our turning point, as we already said, and reduce the altitude 400 feet because this is the lowest altitude we are allowed to pass there, so this will be like our limit. Descent rate to about 800 feet. We have a ground speed of 150, which should be okay. We should pass the village about 1,100 feet, but as long as we are a bit higher, I don't have any problem with this, because in that kind of terrain it's not a bad idea to be maybe a bit higher on some points than too low. Okay, so there is the village. We are now at 1,400 feet, so we are a bit 300 feet higher. It's not a problem. We keep the rate of descent at 800 feet. The radial is coming in, so 089er is the final track. To do the wind correction, we will have a 085 heading. At this point, I will switch off the flight director and the autopilot and continue manually, because I will have to make some fine adjustments. And there is the shed with the white roof, and not lower than 400 feet on this one. I see the runway in the upper right corner already. So let's check the PAPI. 3 white, 1 green, then now 3 1 red. So now we are exactly on the glide and almost on center line. So looks okay to me at the moment. Speed is fine as well. Maximum 10 knots faster than the ref. And thrust to idle and just a little flare. Oh, flared a bit too high. Booms. There we go. Oh, speed brake is just... Oh, now I was looking at the speed brake. What it was doing, no idea. Just didn't want to come out somehow. But okay. Manual brakes. Reverser stowed.
Hello, taxi onto Hotel 1, left hand along the 16 and hold short number 3.
Okay, and there we are. I think the approach was quite okay. The approach, the flight path was quite good. I liked it. The landing flare was a bit too aggressive. Just pulled a bit too strong on the yoke. So yeah, well, it happens. But we were still in the touchdown zone. Everything was alright. We didn't flare until the end of the touchdown zone. It was alright. So that was the approach into Samos International Airport. Thanks for watching, guys, and bye bye.